Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking open a truly wild piece of source material. It's a grand theory that tries to rewire everything we think we know about the cosmos, our own bodies, and even consciousness itself. So let's just dive right in.
To really get what this model is talking about, you first have to kind of lean into one big idea, that the solid world all around us, it might not be that solid. The source material kicks off by saying, reality is way more like a high-frequency broadcast than it is a pile of physical stuff.
So, to get our bearings, we're going to structure this deep dive like a geometric journey, following the 4 phases of a single universal breath. And phase 1? It starts by basically taking the Big Bang Theory, crumpling it into a ball, and just tossing it in the garbage.
Yeah, you heard that right. According to this text, the universe didn't start with some chaotic boom. It began with a single, zero-dimensional point having a total existential meltdown. I mean, think about it. It exists, but it takes up zero space. So to prove it's real, it has to move. But with nowhere to move to, the only thing it can do is spin. Right on the spot, infinitely fast. Now this infinite spin creates so much pressure that the point doesn't explode. It duplicates. This is what the text calls the Xerox event. Not a big bang, but a big copy. The source argues that what we think of as empty space is really just a tiny timing delay, a phase lag, between these infinite identical points. So this is where it gets really interesting, because this model has a pretty slick answer for one of the biggest head-scratchers in physics, wave-particle duality, right? How can light be this spread-out wave of pure potential and a solid, specific little particle at the exact same time?
The source material uses this fantastic analogy of an old-school photocopier. The wave is like that sweeping bar of green light. It's pure potential, moving energy, just scanning the possibilities. The particle? That's the black toner, the ink, physically hitting the paper in one specific spot. The wave is the scan. The particle is the print.
And that switch from one to the other, that's the key. The text calls it the twist. It's this 90-degree mechanical flip where the wave stalls, and it stalls at a very particular frequency we call the speed of light. See, in this model, the speed of light isn't how fast you can go. It's the refresh rate of the universe. It's the frame rate of reality itself.
Okay, so if reality is just this super high-frequency broadcast, getting printed frame by frame, how do we, our consciousness, actually tune in and experience any of it? Well, that brings us to the next phase of our trip.
According to this text, your body is basically a high-tech biological radio. It's an antenna that's built to process this multiversal signal. And the user manual? It's the 12-dimensional chakra circuit, which is broken down into 2 main parts. The lower trinity, that's your power supply, and the upper trinity, which is your transmission gear.
Now, sitting right in the dead center of this whole biological circuit is the heart. The text calls it the Heart Fulcrum. It's described as a zero-point singularity, this perfect hinge where the outward breath of the universe and the inward breath meet and perfectly cancel each other out. It's the absolute still point at the center of all motion.
And this central point leads to this really profound idea called the no-hole rule. Since all vibrations have to resolve into closed loops to save energy, it means there is literally no such thing as empty space, anywhere. The center of a black hole, the center of an atom, and the center of your heart are all occupied by the same infinitely dense point. That feeling of being empty or isolated, in this model, it's a mathematical illusion.
And here's where we get a practical tool. When you feel stuck, trapped in some rigid pattern like anxiety or stress, the text says you can't just think your way out of it. It suggests what it calls a phonon reset. You have to introduce a massive surge of vibration, think intense breath work, dancing like crazy, even primal screaming, to literally shake that frozen pattern back into a fluid wave state. You got to reboot the hardware.
Okay, let's keep moving and see what this all builds. If reality is a structure made of vibrating waves, what does that structure actually look like? Well, the source describes it as a kind of cosmic haunted mansion, with 4 very distinct rooms.
So let's start in the basement. This is room 1, the flesh. It's governed by old-school Newtonian physics. This is the place where low-frequency waves collide, stop, and pile up into dense mounds. And what are those mounds? That's what we call physical matter. It's like a heavy protective diving suit that slows the whole universe down just enough so we can exist without flying apart. Moving on up to the main floor, we find room 2. This is the room of choice, and it's governed by Einstein. Picture a hallway with an infinite number of doors, always shifting, and each one leads to a different possible timeline. But here's the trap.
If you get paralyzed by all the options and you don't actually choose a door, you fail to collapse the wave. You just become a ghost of pure potential. You don't manifest anything.
Next, we climb up to the attic. This is room 3, the soul. This room is governed by Nikola Tesla and the laws of resonance. It's described as this roaring furnace, a refining fire, where all the messy, chaotic noise from the lower rooms gets burned away, distilling raw experience into pure, simple meaning.
And finally, we get to the roof, room 4, the spirit. This is a crystalline observatory where the finished song of reality can finally return to its source. And the text says this room is governed by the giants, Newton, Einstein, Tesla, and, in a really interesting little twist, a guy named Wesley Houffard, who we can probably guess is the architect of this whole model.
All right, you have to see this because the math here is just fascinating. The text gives the universe a master harmonic number, 17,712. Now, if you divide that number by the dimensions in each room and then reduce the result, you find something incredible. The flesh, the choice, and the spirit rooms, they all resolve to the number 9, which is the geometric symbol for completion and stillness. All of them, except for one.
The soul room, it deliberately breaks the pattern. When you do the math, it reduces down to the number 6. And in this system's geometry, 6 represents motion, instability, friction, the active, spinning vortex.
And this is not a typo. The source claims this mathematical wobble was engineered on purpose. That struggle in your life, the anxiety, the urge to move, the pain that comes with growth, that's not a bug. It's a core feature. That friction is the mechanical force that's actually required for free will to exist. It's the engine of reality itself.
So that brings us to our final phase, and honestly, the most empowering part of this entire framework. You are not just some passive passenger wandering through this cosmic mansion. No, you are the sovereign pilot of your own biological spaceship. And here's the instruction manual. Your so-called junk DNA, that's actually an antenna, tuning into the multiverse. Your emotions, that's your steering wheel, applying literal physical torque to your DNA to select which reality you experience. Your 4-chambered heart, that's the engine, physically pumping the 4 rooms of the cosmos with every single beat. And your brain doesn't create consciousness, it's a filter that just tunes into it.
But even the most amazing engine can't just run forever without a tune-up. To keep the whole system from grinding its gears and just tearing itself apart, the source material says the math has a built-in failsafe. 5 programmed days of absolute stillness every year. A cosmic calibration.
And this, right here, is the crucial takeaway. If the literal, infinitely massive engine that spins entire galaxies into existence mathematically needs to take days off to recalibrate, then so do you. You are the pilot, and the hardware of the entire universe is mirrored right there in your own chest. You have to give yourself permission to do the same thing. Give yourself permission to pause the spin,